Imagine you just brought home like a brand new revolutionary power tool.
Okay.
The box promises it can build an entire house for you in a single afternoon. You plug it in and it's incredibly intuitive. But then you flip it over and the warning label in, tiny print says it might also accidentally alter the very fabric of human reality.
Oh, is that all? Just reality
Good.
itself?
It's the ultimate double-edged sword. It doesn't
Mhm.
come with an instruction manual, and it's so powerful that you can't even tell if you are operating the tool or if it...
And if the tool's operating you,
Exactly.
just kind of turn it on, step back, and hope your neighborhood is still there when it finishes.
And that tool isn't sitting on a shelf in a hardware store somewhere. It's the tab you have open on your browser right now. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.
Today, we're looking at a leaked, honestly incredibly candid debate from May of 2026. The file is literally just called Plain Eye Podcast AI Good or Bad ... .gax. And what makes this text so compelling is that it completely strips away the extremes,
Yeah, it deliberately avoids all that utopian cheerleading we constantly hear from Silicon Valley.
Right, the AI will solve all our problems pitch.
Exactly. And it also sidesteps the sort of apocalyptic doomsday panic that drives, well, most of our media coverage. It forces us to look at what is actually happening on the ground.
Right.
Because when you remove the extremes, you're left with a very raw, totally hype-free examination of human behavior in the face of this unprecedented technological leap.
Okay, let's unpack this because our mission today is to cut through all of that noise. The goal here isn't to declare a winner between the technology skeptics and the optimists.
No, debating who is right misses the point entirely.
It really does. Our mission is to help you figure out exactly where you stand on what is undeniably the most transformative technology of our time. We want to explore that messy, honest middle ground where, most of us actually live our daily lives.
Definitely. I mean, if you're listening to this right now and you feel like you're holding this massive contradiction in your head.
Like using it while fearing it?
Yeah. Maybe you're using AI to write a tedious email for work while simultaneously being terrified it's going to eventually automate your entire industry.
Oh, I've been there.
We all have. And if you feel that way, you are exactly where you need to be. That friction is completely normal. Honestly, it is the defining psychological state of this era.
But before we can even begin to figure out if this shift is like a net positive or a net negative, we have to properly define what it actually is.
Right. We have to know what we're dealing with.
The document makes this brilliant point right out of the gate. We have to deliberately deprogram decades of Hollywood conditioning.
Oh, totally. Pop culture has done us a massive disservice here. For over 40 years, we've been fed a very specific, highly dramatized image of what artificial intelligence looks like.
The red glowing eye.
Always the red eye. We've been trained by storytellers to anthropomorphize this technology. We naturally want to give it a body, an ego, and usually some sort of sinister agenda.
Yeah, when someone says AI, our brains immediately go to the Terminator crushing a human skull.
Right.
Or HAL 9000 calmly refusing to open the pod bay doors, or even that intensely creepy robot child from the movie AI.
Right. We imagine a machine that has suddenly woken up and decided it just doesn't like us very much.
Exactly. But modern AI systems, the ones we interact with daily, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they are nothing like that.
Not at all. They aren't conscious entities brooding in a server room. They are what we call language models.
Yeah.
They don't have desires or intentions.
I love how the source breaks down this concept, but I want to refine their analogy just a bit to make the mechanics crystal clear.
Go for it.
Imagine someone who has read literally every book, every scientific article, every legal document, every recipe, and every website ever published.
Just massive amounts of data.
Exactly. They've read Shakespeare, quantum physics papers, and every random forum post from the deepest corners of the internet. And now you can just sit down and chat with them.
Yeah.
It's essentially the ultimate, incredibly well-read chatbot. And the core mechanism is just predicting the next logical word in a sentence based on all that reading. It's basically autocomplete on steroids.
That's a good way to put it.
But my question for you is, if it's just a chatbot doing advanced autocomplete, why is everyone claiming this is going to alter human history?
What's fascinating here is the sheer mathematical scale at which this prediction happens.
Okay.
Yes, predicting the next logical word sounds incredibly basic. But to accurately predict that next word, the model has to build this sprawling, multidimensional map of how every concept in human history relates to every other concept.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just memorization.
No, it isn't just memorizing sentences. It's mapping the structural relationships of human thought. When you apply that mechanism to the sum total of all synthesized human text, the real-world utility becomes absolutely staggering.
Because it's not just a Google search.
Exactly. You aren't just retrieving a quote like a search engine. You are instantly accessing all of human knowledge, synthesized, translated, and formatted exactly how you need it.
So let's look at what actually happens when we apply that immense processing power to real human problems. We need to start with the optimistic case, the tangible good.
The stuff that's happening right now.
Right. The benefits are no longer theoretical or 20 years away. They are happening in 2026. The source outlines several concrete examples, starting with the medical field.
Yeah, the document notes that AI models are currently detecting certain cancers from medical scans faster and critically more accurately than experienced human radiologists.
And the mechanism behind why the machine is outperforming the human is so crucial to understand here. It isn't because the AI is inherently smarter than a doctor who spent over a decade in medical school.
No, not at all.
It comes down to the biological limitations of the human body.
Exactly. Think about a human radiologist looking at their 100th complex chest scan of the day. At 4 p.m., they are battling intense cognitive fatigue.
Oh, sure, your eyes just cross at that point.
Right. The human eye physically jumps around when it scans an image. These are called saccades. We only see a tiny portion of our visual field in sharp focus, and our brains just sort of fill in the rest based on context.
Which is usually helpful, but
But in radiology, that means a tiny, anomalous shadow can literally fall into our visual blind spots or just be dismissed by a tired brain.
an AI model doesn't experience 4 p.m. fatigue.
Never. It processes a massive 4K image pixel by pixel, mathematically evaluating every single data point with the exact same level of microscopic scrutiny. It catches the minuscule anomalies that human biology is literally wired to gloss over.
So it's working alongside the doctor to eliminate the margin of error caused by sheer volume.
Exactly.
And we're seeing a similar dynamic alleviate crushing volumes of work in education. The text describes a teacher who has 30 kids in her class,
Okay.
and they are all reading at entirely different levels.
Such a common scenario.
Some are 3 grade levels behind, some are 2 levels ahead. Historically, if she wanted to create differentiated worksheets so every single kid could understand a lesson on, say, photosynthesis, it would take her an entire Sunday of rewriting material.
Just giving up her whole weekend.
Right. But now, she feeds the core curriculum into a language model. She asks it to adjust the syntax, simplify the subordinate clauses for the struggling readers, and elevate the vocabulary for the advanced readers while keeping the core scientific concepts identical.
And how long does that take now?
What used to be an exhausting Sunday chore takes 20 minutes.
Wow.
She gets her weekend back, which is basically the difference between a great teacher burning out in 3 years and staying in the classroom for 20.
That's huge. And this accessibility carries over directly into everyday life, too. The source highlights regular people using these tools to navigate systems that used to be gated by expensive professionals.
Yeah, like legal stuff.
Yeah, people are drafting difficult, high-stakes emails to their landlords or decoding incredibly dense, predatory legal contracts when they absolutely cannot afford a lawyer's retainer fee.
It's a profound democratization of professional-level synthesis.
It really is. The barrier to entry for navigating complex bureaucracy essentially drops to zero.
Okay, wait, I have to jump in here because I draw the line at the mental health apps mentioned in the text.
The AI therapy?
Yeah, people using AI as a conversational partner in the middle of the night when they are in distress. I mean, a machine code doesn't have a heartbeat. It hasn't lived a life, it hasn't experienced loss, and it doesn't actually care if you're okay.
Right.
How can an algorithm possibly provide anything resembling genuine therapy?
That visceral reaction is entirely valid, and the source actually emphasizes that distinction clearly. The AI is not a replacement for human therapy.
It can't be.
No, because empathy fundamentally requires shared vulnerability. A machine has nothing at stake, so it cannot be vulnerable. However, we have to look at the reality of the healthcare landscape.
Which is pretty bleak.
Exactly. These tools are serving as a crucial, desperate stopgap for people when absolutely nothing else is available. Imagine it's 3 a.m., someone is having a severe panic attack, they have no insurance, there's a 6-month wait list for a clinic, and they have no friends awake to call.
That's a terrifying place to be.
It is. Having a patient, infinitely available, non-judgmental entity to guide them through a grounding exercise or help reframe a spiraling anxious thought that isn't about replacing human connection.
It's triage. It's an emergency parachute when the alternative is suffering in total isolation.
Precisely, it provides an immediate safety net.
Okay, the tangible benefits are undeniable. But solving these massive bottlenecks creates a vacuum on the other side. Every time we introduce a monumental societal benefit, the pendulum swings back with a cost.
It always does.
If the machine can do a week's worth of cognitive labor in 20 minutes, we have to address what happens to the people who used to get paid for that labor.
Yeah, we have to pivot to the valid anxieties outlined by the skeptic in this debate.
Right, because the economic displacement is already visible. Writers, graphic designers, paralegals, knowledge workers across the board are watching their contract work and entry-level job prospects shrink in real time.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the classic defense we constantly hear from tech executives and economists is that technology always creates more jobs than it destroys.
Right, the whole tractor argument.
Exactly. They point out that the tractor destroyed agricultural jobs but paved the way for manufacturing jobs. And macroeconomically speaking, maybe they are right over a 50-year timeline.
Sure.
But if you are a graphic designer who spent 10 years building a portfolio and your freelance clients are switching to AI image generators today, that macroeconomic comfort is completely unhelpful. It doesn't pay your mortgage next week.
No, it doesn't. And the skeptic's argument zeroes in on that exact friction. The core issue isn't simply that jobs are changing. I mean, human labor has constantly evolved since the invention of the wheel.
Right.
The core issue is the velocity of the change.
It's happening overnight.
Exactly. The Industrial Revolution is the perfect counterexample. When weavers were displaced by mechanical looms, the transition took generations to fully settle. Families had decades to adapt, move to cities, and learn new trades.
But this isn't taking decades.
No, the disruption caused by AI is moving faster than any previous technological shift in human history. It is vastly outpacing our societal support systems, our educational retraining programs, and our social safety nets.
We are asking society to adapt to an industrial revolution level event in the span of a few fiscal quarters.
Yes, and the structures of society simply aren't built to absorb millions of people pivoting their entire career paths in 6 months.
And while everyday people are frantically trying to figure out their livelihoods, they are simultaneously being forced to navigate a completely fractured digital reality.
Oh, the misinformation.
Yeah, the source spends a significant amount of time on the explosion of misinformation, specifically noting that in 2025 alone, millions of deepfake videos were detected online. We aren't just dealing with automated Twitter bots arguing about politics anymore. Anyone with a basic laptop and a Wi-Fi connection can create photorealistic, fake video or highly accurate fake audio of a politician, a celebrity, or even your boss saying things they never said.
This raises an important question about the fundamental limits of human biology and media literacy.
How so?
Well, for millions of years of evolutionary history, our brains have been hardwired to trust what our eyes see and what our ears hear. Seeing is believing isn't just a phrase, it's a deeply ingrained survival mechanism.
Right. If you see a bear, you don't question if it's a deep fake bear.
Exactly. If you saw a predator in the bushes, your amygdala fired and you ran. You didn't stop to analyze the lighting or check if the predator was a composite image. But suddenly we find ourselves in a digital environment where we have to actively and constantly override our own visual cortex.
Well, we have to live in a state of permanent suspicion. If I see a video of a candidate taking a bribe, my first instinct can no longer be outrage. It has to be forensic analysis.
And the cognitive load of that constant suspicion is incredibly exhausting. We are essentially demanding that everyday people who are just trying to get through their workday and raise their kids act as expert digital analysts for every single piece of content they encounter on their phones.
Which is impossible.
It is, but the source is unyielding on this reality.
Yeah.
Maintaining that baseline skepticism is no longer an optional academic exercise. It is a mandatory survival skill in the AI age.
Okay, so we have incredible utility on one side, detecting cancer early, democratizing complex education, and massive disruption on the other side, rapid job displacement, the death of objective truth.
Right.
But the document argues that spending all our energy debating whether AI is good or bad is actually a distraction from the underlying mechanics of what's happening.
A distraction.
How so? The source introduces a deeply clarifying analogy to explain this. It compares AI to electricity.
Okay, electricity.
Yeah, electricity is the invisible force that powers the life-saving ventilators in a hospital neonatal unit. but it is the exact same force that powers an electric chair.
Wow. Okay, so the electricity itself doesn't possess a moral compass.
Exactly. It doesn't decide who lives and who dies. It's just a current flowing along a wire. It is entirely morally neutral. It is just a tool.
Right.
And if we accept that the tool itself is neutral, then the biggest, most urgent concern isn't just the fact that jobs might shift or fake news might circulate. The profound concern is the staggering concentration of power.
Who controls the electricity?
Yes. The infrastructure required to train and run these massive language models, the millions of specialized microchips, the immense server farms, the massive energy consumption is so astronomically expensive that only a very small handful of incredibly wealthy tech companies can afford to play the game.
So a few dozen executives in Silicon Valley are functionally building the intellectual infrastructure of our future reality.
And their incentives are primarily driven by market dominance, profit, and shareholder value. Those incentives do not naturally align with the long-term well-being, economic stability, or psychological health of ordinary people. We are basically outsourcing the architecture of human knowledge to a handful of private corporations.
Which brings up the inherent uncomfortable dependency that we all live with. The skeptic in the text captures this beautifully.
Oh, the hypocrisy bit.
Yeah, I'm sitting here legitimately worried about the massive concentration of corporate tech power. I'm worried about deepfakes destroying the next election, and I'm worried about the knowledge economy collapsing. But, just last week, I used an AI to draft a delicate, difficult email I was dreading sending to a client.
We'll do it.
Right. And then an hour later, I used it to break down a complex science concept for my kid because I couldn't find the right words to explain it myself. How do you reconcile being deeply fundamentally dependent on the very infrastructure you fear?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what the source is telling us is that this contradiction is the most profoundly human response possible.
So it's not hypocrisy?
No, it's not hypocrisy. It is real-time adaptation. We are navigating a messy transition period. And the text points out something vital here. The most dangerous people in this technological shift aren't the skeptics who are worried about the guardrails, and they aren't the optimists who are excited about the medical breakthroughs.
The dangerous ones are the people who simply stop asking questions.
Exactly. The people who blindly, passively accept everything the tech companies hand them, or conversely, the people who are so overwhelmed and terrified that they refuse to even look at the technology, effectively burying their heads in the sand.
Right.
Ultimately, the source defines AI as a mirror. It doesn't generate ideas from a vacuum. It is trained on our data, our recorded history, our internet. It reflects whatever we put into it.
It's just us.
It powerfully amplifies human creativity, scientific discovery, and profound generosity. But it simultaneously reflects and amplifies our historical biases, our carelessness, our prejudices, and our short-term thinking.
It's like looking into a funhouse mirror built out of the entire internet.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Which brings us to the most practical part of this deep dive. Having established that AI is this powerful, morally neutral mirror currently controlled by a few massive corporations, we need to leave you with a roadmap.
Yes, what do we actually do?
How do you navigate this? What should a regular person actually do right now to keep their bearings? The source outlines 3 very clear, actionable steps.
Step 1 is to simply try the technology for low stakes.
This is huge for demystifying the fear. Go to Claude.ai or ChatGPT.com. The basic models are freely available. Just sit down and experience it.
Ask it to explain a complex news story you didn't quite understand, or ask it to help you build a grocery list and meal plan for a busy week.
Right, but don't use it to write a cover letter for a job you desperately need. And definitely don't use it to diagnose a weird rash on your arm just yet.
No, definitely not. But experiencing it firsthand breaks the spell. It stops being this shadowy Hollywood monster plotting against you and simply becomes an interface on your screen.
Step 2. Stay fiercely curious, but remain deeply critical. The source suggests a great mental framework for this.
Treat AI like a very smart, very eager to please friend who occasionally and with absolute unwavering confidence just makes things up entirely.
We all have that friend. The one who will give you detailed driving directions to a new restaurant with total certainty, and you end up parked in a dead-end alley miles away.
Yep.
You love them, but you always quietly verify their advice. That's how you have to treat these models. It is a brilliant starting point for your brain, a way to overcome a blank page, but it is absolutely not a replacement for your own judgment.
And the third step, and perhaps the most vital for the long-term trajectory of our collective future, is to pay close attention to the rules being written.
The governance layer.
Right. The legislative and regulatory decisions being made by tech executives and politicians right now, often behind closed doors, are going to dictate the digital and economic infrastructure of society for the next 50 years.
It's a huge moment.
These entities need to feel the immense constant pressure of public opinion. If everyday citizens tune out because they think the technology is too complicated or too abstract to understand, the rules of the game will be written entirely by those who stand to profit the most from it.
So what does this all mean? The source arrives at a really powerful conclusion here.
Mhm.
The question we started with at the top of the show is AI good or bad? Is functionally obsolete?
It's the wrong question.
It is. The tool is already out of the box. The electricity is already flowing through the wires. The real question, the one we have to look in that digital mirror and ask ourselves every single day as we build the future, is are we good or bad?
And that leads me to a final thought that wasn't explicitly laid out in the text, but builds directly on that idea of AI as a mirror reflecting human data.
No, what's that?
Well, right now, the models we use are trained primarily on human output. Books we painstakingly wrote, articles we deeply researched, real conversations we had. But what happens in 5 or 10 years when the internet becomes completely saturated with AI-generated content?
Oh, wow.
What's
Millions
that?
of synthetic articles, videos.
Exactly. Automated scripts. When the next generation of AI trains itself, it will increasingly be training on synthetic data created by other AIs.
Yeah.
At that point, are we just looking into a mirror reflecting another mirror?
That's unsettling.
And if the training data becomes an endless loop of machine synthesis, will the original human element, that spark of genuine, flawed, vulnerable humanity that made the data valuable in the first place, be lost in the reflection forever?
A mirror, reflecting a mirror. That is a haunting concept to leave on. As you go about your week, we encourage you to stay curious. Keep questioning the digital tools you use. Always double-check the advice of that overly confident friend. And remember that by simply listening to this deep dive, by refusing to tune out and passively accept the changes around you, you're already taking the most important step in navigating the AI age. Keep an eye on that browser tab, read the warning label on your new power tool, and we will see you on the next deep dive.